What's up? It's your boy Bob's Bob Bray because I'm always bringing you the good vibes, and you're tuned into and 5678 the podcast, where we discuss everything dance industry related beyond the steps.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. 7, 8. 8.
You're tuned into in 5678 the podcast with Vibes by Bray, only on YouTube. Broadcasted by Riverside.fm.
Now, today's episode, I'm super excited about this one, y'all, because we have choreographer, studio owner, queen of hip hop, and viral sensation, Dena Rizzo. Y'all give it up.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad to have you.
I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, can you just go ahead and give us a brief introduction of who you are?
Oh, brief. Okay. Um, well, I am a dancer, choreographer, someone who is now embarking on uh, embracing the video, which I know we'll get into,
Mhm.
and something that just blew up when I went on TikTok and I was just like new to all this.
Yeah.
And so it's all kind of all of that. I'm a motivational speaker. I like to talk. I like to listen, but I'm a judge for showstoppers and, a lot of good stuff going on.
So, how did you even begin dancing?
That's a great question. So when I was 7 years old, I already thought I was an artist because I drew all the time. 7 now. My mom's like, you could take art or dance. I'm like, I am already an artist at 7. So like, why don't we just go ahead and take dance lessons? And so I started taking dance. Lived in Charlotte. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I thought that I was great. I thought I was the one. And actually, after I guess maybe a few years, 1, 2, I don't even, not even 9. I just remember my dance teacher having a conference with my parents. And I thought it was because I was getting a promotion. Like I'd start teaching at the, at the studio at 10. And it was absolutely the opposite that, this is not really working out that well. Dance is not really her thing. And because I had parents that knew better, they kept on, I kept dancing, kept dancing. I kept showing
Mhm.
up, I kept showing up. And man, was that a journey there. Uh, from that place, that studio, um, like I said, I kept dancing. My parents were positive, and I'm like, I want to dance. So I don't care. She's like, well, she'll not be a front row dancer. And I'm like, okay, I'm just here to dance. And, we had to take everything then. You had to take ballet. I grew up with, a lot of ballet. My mother wanted me to take baton because she wanted me to march in the parade in Charlotte because it was a big deal. And so I moved to Myrtle Beach when I was a junior in high school and went to a studio and I thought and it was all modern. I got to be
Mhm.
honest with you. Like the studio I was at was only about show. Let's see what show we can do. Let's see what we can make this look like. Let's see how much better we can do this. It's a show, but never taught technique. So I go to a new studio. What are they doing?
Teaching
Blasting
technique.
out. Girls have got their legs up here. And I'm like, Mom, it's an exercise class. I don't think I need to go back. Then I'm a junior in high school. So it was like starting over again. That's how that started. If we would have just talked about what I did up until, things changed for me. But it wasn't an easy road for me. I gotta be honest, I never thought that I was somebody that I could say I was a technical dancer.
Mhm.
I've been listening to I watched some of your podcasts and I'm just like, I think last guy, Keenan,
Yes.
is that that had the brain tumor thing?
Yes.
I just listened to his interview and it's like you have your spot where you're dancing and then things take off. So I don't know how much farther you want me to go with that, but I can keep it moving. But that was the beginning, and I felt like it was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Really hard.
And so I kind of have a similar story. So when I first started dancing, I wanted to dance because it was cool, it was fun. I didn't really have a dance background. I didn't grow up where I had the resources to dance, but I just knew that it looked cool. And I just always wanted to do it. I'm like, I want to do it. And I was not good. I had two left feet. When I got to high school, my sophomore year of high school is when I went to a performing arts high school. And it started clicking a little more because I started doing musical theater and dance. And it started putting things into a better perspective for me. But I never gave up because I knew I wanted to dance. And it wasn't until I actually moved to Atlanta and I started seeing more of the industry because I'm from Richmond, Virginia. We didn't really have too much of an example for us. So once I got to Atlanta, I was like, this is such a culture shock for me. And it just made me train more intentionally so I could understand my body a little more. And I'm just so grateful for the journey that I have embarked upon because I would not have been the dancer that I am today because it started off as something that I like doing and a hobby, but now it turned into one of my biggest passions.
Yes, and now look what you're doing here. I think your setup in your podcast and the topic of your podcast so necessary for
Thank
dancers.
you.
You know,
Thank you.
I really do. And you know, when I graduated high school, I got married really early, and like I was 19 when I got married. I just graduated high school, was 19. My daddy helped me open up a studio when I was about to almost to turn 20. And I had it for 10 years in Myrtle Beach. And I didn't really call it, it was more like a club. You know, people didn't really like it's like, oh, you're going to pay your tuition. Oh, your mama's driving off in a Jaguar. Oh, I see, but she's not going to pay me the money she owes me. So it turned into one of these things where it was like a club. And I was not, but the way I danced, I don't want this to sound like toot a horn, but because I did not have a lot of knowledge and technique, I danced from, and you will understand this. It came from here, so it was such a different experience for for the kids that danced with me because I stayed in Myrtle Beach long enough until those kids I had from the time they were 7 until 18. And when they graduated, I left and went to New York City. But I built a great little group of dancers, and they now are doing great things. Bradley Tate, he owns Dance Makers. I gave him his first job at Dance Makers. Dance Makers gave me my first job. But yeah, and they're all doing great things. You know, my dancers that dance with me. So, and I was a Myrtle Beach girl. So I thought, I must be doing something right.
Right.
You know, as far as that's concerned. And I didn't ever see me dancing, doing what I'm doing. Yeah, I still have to pinch myself because I just went out in the clubs and danced and battled. You know, I get ahead of myself because, you know, I discovered the movie Break-In in 1984. And as you, I don't know if you can see it back there, but I had the album cover and Break-In. It was so much a part of my life. I said, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what they're doing, and I'm going to get paid for it. And they're like, you know, girl, no. And I still have my dance studio. And I was sitting, my daddy had businesses. We were outside selling jewelry. And I saw these two kids moonwalk past my shop. And I just ran out and chased after them. And they were young, 13, 14. They came to my studio. They taught it. I explained it. And then for a couple of years, I trained with them. And so this was just all like just stuff I was doing in Myrtle, you know, again, never seeing things come out of this. And so I'm out in the clubs one night dancing, and one of the big things that happened to me was Debbie Roberts' son, who owned Showstoppers, saw me out in the club battling everybody. And he went back and told his mom, Mom, you know that girl Dena Rizzo? She lives here in Burl. And Debbie was like, No, I don't think so. She's probably living in New York because my name was out like this just a little bit. I'd done a few little things. And so literally, I can thank Adam Roberts for getting me started with Showstoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And I started small there. I would go and teach in a little thing. Debbie would have this little gathering of teachers at her home, and I would go and do that. This was before conventions ever were. And then I would do some classes at her finals. I don't want to keep going because I know you got questions. So
Yeah, no, you're fine. So this actually is a perfect segue with Showstoppers. How long have you been with Showstoppers? Because it's definitely been a while.
oh yeah. It's been over like 22 years.
Hmm.
I've been with them, and and I'm still with them. I'm judging now, and so I do every city that what I did every city last year because I was able to. And it's exciting. I love the conventions. I did that for many, many moons
Hmm.
until, there comes a time. I'm probably the oldest person you've had on this podcast. There comes a time when you know that, maybe you need to pass the torch. You don't want to, but you also don't want to be the one up there still trying to do something that people are
Yeah.
like, and you know what I mean? So I kind of knew that the time was closing in and I was ready to step down and go
How
into
was,
this.
yeah, how was the experience for you? Like, what did you feel from doing Showstoppers? Because you did it for so long. Like, what kind of experience did you have?
Listen, I got to tell you that, I never thought that I would, again, I never thought I'd be there. And I'm teaching,
Mhm.
she started the conventions and there was only just a handful of us that's teaching. And the main girl that was the draw was Carissa Steeman, who danced for Britney Spears. When Britney Spears started, was dancing in the mall, and then it turned into Britney Spears blowing up. So Carissa was our big name. And then it was just like me. I'm like, I'm just from Myrtle Beach. Like, how is this going to work out? But because of the way they put me out there like I had already won, Grammys. I was doing this and doing that. Only by the way they would put me in classes. They had me teaching more classes than anybody. I was the last dancer of the showcase, which would build up. Everybody would perform, and then as we started getting more famous, I guess, or they started bringing in like other Darren Henson, Twitch, all of these people. I love Twitch, RIP, I miss him. But all these people that were like big names, they were still like, and come in, Rizzo, the queen of hip hop at the end of and I'm standing there going like, why is this happening? I mean, don't y'all need to shift this a little bit? But it was because of the way they did me that I didn't understand why
Hmm.
kids want my pictures all the time or why they're jabbing that big poster. And, the poster started out like this for us to sign the autographs. And then
Hmm.
they were full size and they'd be like, you get gouging in the eye because they're sticking them up there to sign them. That whole experience to me. And from that experience, it built my confidence during that time. And I was
Yes.
going everywhere. I was choreographed. I don't think I ever had too many weekends that I wasn't doing something.
Wow.
And that went
That's
on for
so
years.
cool.
And I kept being asked back. Like if I go to a studio and do their choreography, they're asking me back again and again. I went to one in Nashville for 14 years and did
Mm.
their choreography. So, it was one of the best things that happened to me because it put me
Yeah.
out there. It's a great experience. And when
Awesome.
it was
Now,
over, teaching, when it was over, I was like, but I knew there was something more.
exactly.
Always
Now,
is.
earlier you mentioned that your parents didn't give up on you when you started dancing. I want to
Yes.
touch on that because that's super important to have someone in your corner to support you. And out of all of the interviews that I've done, I think that's one thing that stands out to me a lot because everyone talks about their support system.
Absolutely.
And in this industry, it's important to have somebody to be able to lift you up because sometimes we don't know our own potential. And
Oh, gosh.
it's cool and it's encouraging just to have somebody to root you on and say, like, you can do this. And for
Yes.
me, personally, I didn't have that because all of my siblings were like sports players and mechanics. And because I didn't really know much about dance growing up, it was kind of like, you want to dance? You don't want to play basketball? You don't want to football? You want to dance? So it was one of those things that my parents didn't really understand growing up. But once I started understanding the culture of dance and everything, I started building my community when I moved to Atlanta, and I had that support system. I started putting myself in the rooms, being around people who share common interests, who wanted to do the things that I wanted to do, or who was even doing the things that I wanted to do. So I just wanted to take that moment to talk about community and talk about that support system.
Yes. My parents were always, we did we were family business. We all worked in the family business in Myrtle Beach in the summer, which, was a fun thing to do. And growing up like that, and my mom always, this is the cool thing, what I can remember is my mom always saving up. She would say, I'm putting this money back because if she paid for my full year of dance, she would get a discount, and I just remember, I just thought that was so cool because she'd say, you know what, Dena, sometimes you have to have money that nobody knows about. Like in other words, she's got this money and she's put it in her little purse, and I love that about her because she taught me about just having a little bit of money on me in case I need it, and my dad, of course, he was great. He helped me open a studio when I was 19 and certainly wasn't ready for a studio, but I knew mine was not going to be like everybody else's, and it wasn't. But sadly, my parents never got to see me really get successful because my dad passed away, then my mom passed away, but I have my sister and my brother, and my sister is one of my biggest cheerleaders, Sheila. She is like, and she lives right down the
name.
Is it Sheila?
Yes.
That's so cool. You hardly ever hear too many of the Sheilas,
Right.
And so she just lives right down the street from me, and she's such an encourager. She really is. And my nephews and all of my brother, all of them. So I'm grateful for it.
Yes.
So I didn't have my parents. I did it first. That kept pushing me, and you can do anything, and that's different from your experience because I think your experience to me is super scary because I was not, I never was the dancer that was trying to make it in auditions. I never did any of that. The only thing I ever auditioned for was the movie Black Knight with Martin Lawrence, and Paula Abdul was the choreographer.
Oh, wow.
And I got that movie when I was 42. It was the only thing I never auditioned for. But I had people pushing me to go. And I'm like, I'm too old, what? And I just went. And of course, there was only 13 of us that were picked, and I was one. I couldn't believe it. And we actually ended up getting SAG pay. So every 3 months, you get a check, and I still do. Of course, it's not as big as it was. But I'm saying all that to say that, that was like a thing I did that was a big thing that I'd never done before. So auditioning and things like that were terrifying to me. Very scary.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm in that place now too. Like I'm 32, and it's certain things that sometimes I accidentally talk myself out of because I feel like, oh, I'm 32. Should I be really auditioning for that? Like now, I just recently auditioned for the Washington Wizards, and I made it. So this is my first year dancing for the Washington Wizards. But I almost talked myself out of it because I'm like, I don't do this kind of dancing. I'm uncomfortable. This isn't the style that I'm used to. But I ended up doing it and succeeding. So I'm super grateful that I was able to just talk myself off the ledge and then even have people that's like, no, I think that you would be really good at this. You should go do it. So I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Now, where are you living now?
DC.
DC.
Washington, DC, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I used to go up to Virginia, Fairfax, a lot. My goddaughter lived there, and now her name's Jodeci, and she grew up, and now she's on. She got cast in a Broadway show called "What a Wonderful World." It's about Louis Armstrong's life, and it comes out. I think it's going to start at the end of this month. So it's great to say I've got these dancers that did all these wonderful things.
That's awesome.
And so I congratulate you on that because that's exciting. And when I went to audition for that movie, Paula Abdul was sitting right there when I walked in. I about had a heart attack.
Wow.
And, I was just like, the Paula Abdul is sitting right in front of me. I was not dressed like everybody else who was in the black and white, pinkish attire for whatever audition. I guess they thought they needed to be in that whole get up, and I'm standing there in my street out, with what I wear, t-shirt, pants, sneakers. And so when they say we want everybody to freestyle just for a few minutes, second. So I was like, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm watching everybody out come out, triple pirouettes, bottom to Jesus and laying it out. And the kids to me. So I'm just like moonwalking up to her and I'm just like popping and giving it. And
Yes.
she's like, Dad, I'm dead with her. And they started just on, whittling down everybody. And I was standing in a room and I heard people saying, have you seen that girl that's like, she's not doing like anybody else? And they had their faces crammed up. And I was like, where? I want to see. And they turn and they go, it's you. I'm like, oh, watching through the window. See, so those things, like you said,
Mhm.
people telling you you can do it. We talk ourselves out of so much. And I can,
Absolutely.
and the big story for me will be the video when we get there, talk about
Yeah.
talking yourself out of things,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, when you left Myrtle Beach, you mentioned that you moved to New York City, right?
Did. I surely did.
What inspired that move?
I had a friend of mine. He was dancing for the David Parsons Company in New York, and we met at a convention. And literally by the end of the weekend, we were like the best of buddies.
Mhm.
And so he kept saying, "When are you gonna move to New York? When are you gonna move to New York?" I said, "I can't. I got to get these kids out of here. They got to graduate and go on." And they did. And I just said, "One day I'm going to do it." It was
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going there to look for a job because I haven't. I was already traveling. I was always doing showstopper. I was going everywhere. So I thought, I don't have to go there for a job. Let me just move. And that's what I did. And I moved in with him. And I was there for over 10 years.
Yes. And what did you accomplish out in New York?
you know, I was, I accomplished a lot of parties I shouldn't have been accomplishing. A lot of shopping I shouldn't have been accomplishing, but I did do a couple of things. Like my first gig was a job with like right after I moved, a job for I was doing MTV VH1
Mhm.
and Wade Robson. Are you familiar with that choreographer,
With
Wade
who?
Robson?
Oh,
Wade
yes, yes.
Robson, yeah, yeah. You always say Ramble Lama Bang Bang, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah." Um, I was working with him, and of course, you know me. I'm just like I'm starstruck over everybody. Like, oh my God, it's Wade Robson. And I just remember being on the subway at like 6 a.m. because we had to be there early. And some woman beside me was eating like fish. And I was like, she was eating fish at 6 in the morning. I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, is this how my life is going to smell fish every day on the subway at this early? And it was just weird smells and all that for me. But I did that. I did some video stuff, but mainly I was traveling out of there all the time,
Mhm.
going different places. So New York was my hub. I did a few things, but it wasn't like I was beating down the doors to do stuff.
Yeah,
I,
because you still had opportunities to
oh
travel,
yeah,
like you
I mean, I was
said.
always booked every weekend. So through the
Yes.
week, I just, you know, had too much fun. But those were those days.
Yeah.
But I like, New York is great for me when I was there. That's when I had my dreadlocks. That's where I feel like that was the cool look for me. But of course, they just had to go eventually. And but yeah, that was New York. I mean, I love being there, but I knew it was time to go when it was time to go.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love New York. I've tried to travel there at least 2 to 3 times a year. I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends there, but I also go and I train because that New York pocket is
Uh,
so different than the Atlanta pocket, but I
oh yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yes. Well, Atlanta for me is, is the dirty South, is the hub for hip hop. Is where
Yeah.
everybody, it's like, and I used to go to Atlanta all the time when I lived in
Mhm.
Myrtle. And, but I thought I'd never live in Atlanta because I couldn't drive in Atlanta. So that was my big thing. I'm like, I'm not driving in Atlanta. And, but yeah, I think it's a great thing. And so I could see where, you know, being, and for me, New York wasn't scary because I knew I wasn't going to be doing like what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going and you're auditioning
Right.
and you're doing that. And I'm like, just gonna sit here and keep working, which is what I did. My life didn't start, my dance life didn't really start until my late 30s. And then it blew up in my 40s.
Right.
40s. Who doesn't?
Now, now, Dina, you are known for a very viral sensation. Let's take a look at that for a second.
Oh, Lordy.
Hey, I'm Dena. You don't want to do that. You want to turn your feet out. Your hands are always like this. And they had no baggy pants and no sneakers. That was wild. I didn't know what to think about that. I took some of this from an African piece. In the African piece, it was like this, but in hip hop, it's like this. What are you going to do when hip hop goes out? So it can go out. Hit, ah. Flex foot. It's right here in your faces, and how you dress is the way you look. Hip hop is an attitude. It's right here. The more relaxed you are, that's what makes it hip hop.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Dena, how did that moment change your life?
Oh, it changed my life dramatically. And at first, not for the good. It was not good. I filmed that video over 27 years ago. I was teaching at a convention, a smaller convention, and a lady there said, I don't know what you have. She was also an instructor, but I can hear the kids screaming in the room that you're teaching in. So let's have breakfast in the morning and you tell me who you are, what you're about. And I was terrified. Who is this? What's this woman? And she was she was the one back in the day, Kathy Rowe, that was pushing out VHS to every studio teachers. So my video was completely a tutorial. And I had 3 dancers that went out there with me. We did it. Some of it was scripted because I'd never done anything before, it was a whole experience. And so I left there. I thought this is great. I shot another one that I'm just teasing everybody with. I'll let them. We're gonna come out with that one later. But anyway, I was teaching at 27 years ago, 15 years ago, about 15. I was teaching at Showstoppers, and somebody came up to me. They flipped their phone and said, "Is this you?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, you might want to look at this." So I went back to my room. I pulled it up, and then I saw like the most horrible things that I could ever read about somebody was happening. And I was thinking, why is this happening? Like, wait a minute. I had never experienced anybody come to me next, everything I did, everybody loved, it was that kind of thing. And so I was like, 15, here we are. Okay. Why are they doing this now? Do they think I just did that? Don't they know this video is old? And so I never, ever, ever after that looked at any comments. I knew they were horrible. Now that things over the years, Facebook came about and all of that. I was on Facebook and everything was great. Then all of a sudden, videos started surfacing, and then they were just tearing it up. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting on Facebook anymore. Boom, Instagram, stayed on it, and then people think they're real cute, funny when they send me the video and like laughy, laughy. I'm like, dude, do you think you're the first one that's done this? Like, right. You're nobody, this ain't new. I've done this for 15 years now. Right. And so my nephew, Nathan Troutman, told me, Dena, you need to face this. He's been telling me this for like 3-4 years. I said, that will never happen, Nathan. I will never do that because and he goes, you need to get some shirts with your face on it. I'm like, nobody's going to do that. Now, look what happened. My brand, exactly. That we won't get ahead of ourselves. But, and I was just like, no. And then, just broke my heart. I was getting people asking me, can we do this? Can we do that? It was always negative. It was never anything good. So out of the blue, I get an email this year in April from a guy named Joe, who was a friend of somebody named Taylor Tarantino out in California. She had been me for Halloween, and it just blew up her TikTok. You know how many people have been me? I don't know if you know. I'm sure you do.
I've seen
it's all over and it's all over the internet now, all over. And it was before, but Taylor just was kind, and I prayed about it because I believe in prayer, and I know that God, His Word says He's going to turn everything around for the good. And for 15 years, I said, Lord, where's the good? I know You don't want me to be slandered all the time.
Exactly.
What's going on, God? What's going on? Kept on, but I just kept on hanging on. But I wasn't ever gonna. So when she came to me, I said, you know what? I'm gonna get back to you on that, and I did. And I was flying out to Anaheim for Showstoppers in April, and we met for the first time. And that's when we shot the very first remake of my video. Wow! All my video shot was in the Showstopper, was in the parking lot of the hotel I was staying at, and we just had so much fun. And that video, when we did that, it was the first time I'd ever got on TikTok. And I started seeing it 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. Now it's at 8.9 million. The sad thing was I didn't know I had to be a minute long to be monetized on TikTok. So I
Oh
missed out
wow.
on that money. But that's how it started. And she would drop a video, I would, and then I started getting so much love from everybody. The
Right.
love has been far outweighs the negative, you
Yeah.
know. And so when I go on TikTok and I see those comments, it fills my love tank. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, I never thought this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Never. And I was
Because
go ahead.
yeah, social media can be very cruel. So I can
Oh
only
gosh.
imagine like
I do.
how you felt in the beginning. But what I am glad about is that I'm glad that you were able to step into the things that it could be for you and capitalize from that. Which leads me to my next point. You do have a brand deal. We started talking about that earlier. I definitely want you to touch on that.
I know. Yeah, that was like right after I got on TikTok, I got reached out by Lucky. They were like, we'd like to offer you a brand deal. And I'm like, you know, research, is this real? You know, is this real? Because I got to tell you, Brett, I was so used to everything being negative, like with the
Mhm.
video. Like nothing was ever good for me with that video. That's why I wouldn't do anything. So they reached out. I found out they were legit. Um, and so I just started doing stuff for them. You know, I haven't done a lot. They haven't asked for a lot, you
Yeah.
know, but it was like, it blew my mind. And then they wanted to create the t-shirts, you know, collector's edition, 200. All the money comes to me. And I'm like, why would somebody do this for me? You know, like, why are you doing this for me? What am I doing enough for y'all? You know, and
Yeah.
they kept saying it's about you. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So that was a shock to me. And I'm ready for more. Let's get another brand deal here and there, you know, but I'm
Yes.
so ignorant when it comes to social media and TikTok and how to post and what to do.
Hmm.
You know, I still, and Taylor at first did all of that because she's so savvy and she would post it all. And I would just sit back and let her do it, you know? And so we met up 2 times and then I wanted to meet up a third time when I was in California, but she's kind of going in a different direction. But I
Hmm.
got to tell you, Taylor Tarantino was the key to getting me out here. She's the
Let's give it up
woman.
for Taylor.
Oh my goodness, Taylor, we love her. Um, she's amazing, and she's the one that came up and created 6 little shirts that we sold on our link tree, and it was just phrases from my video, you
Yes.
know, that I said that went viral, and so that was like, okay, I can do this. This is gonna be good. I can't believe the comments I read. And you know, TikTok's kind of good because they fold all them negative comments, you
Hmm.
know. And then I'm on Instagram, and I got to tell you, I'm terrified to start a YouTube page because that's where it all started. But listen? Do you think that I should not go on YouTube because I'm scared of what people say?
No, I don't think you should not do it, only because, as I stated earlier, social media is a scary thing, but
Yeah.
you can't let that stop you to create your greatness because you never know what the different platforms can do for you. Because honestly, we're in a day and age where social media actually matters.
Yeah.
And sometimes it matters a little more than it should, but it does matter, especially with, with your brand. I feel like any form of social media would more so help than anything, but you just have to have a tough skin for social media. You
You're
do.
right.
Um, and like, it's no point in living in fear because one thing that I was always taught growing up is that you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take.
Right? I
Yeah.
know, I know. Thank you for that, like word. That was good. I needed to
No
hear
problem.
that, and so did my dog Godfrey. I had to bring him
Hey,
on because I thought
Godfrey.
he was going to do a little something. He did a little peep, but I'm like, nope, we're not
Gotcha.
going to do that right now. But you know, and so the main turnaround, I got to tell you, you know, everything is terrible. Is the one
Mhm.
that got my video. They're the ones 15 years ago that they chopped it up and put it out there.
Right.
I couldn't get it taken down. You wouldn't believe I tried tirelessly. You know, I didn't know who these people were. I'm like, why would you do that? You don't know me.
Right.
Well, last month I got a direct message from one of the guys that worked for Everything is Terrible, and he apologized to me.
Oh,
Can we
wow.
talk about full circle?
Yes, definitely.
You know, he apologized and said, we were young. We were just trying to make people laugh. I had no idea the effect that this video would have on you. I never knew how long it would last or how far it would go.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so sorry. You are a treasure on the internet, beloved by me and so many. Let me know what I can do for you. I about
That's
fell out.
so, that's so
Now
awesome, though.
that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that guy was very brave. I like him for that.
Now, Dena, we're actually getting ready to play a game. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I love
Alrighty,
games.
so awesome. So this game is called Rapid Fire. I have 10 questions. It's a mixture of random dance questions, trivia,
Really?
personal preferences in dance. I'm gonna get through them really quick. Let's get 22 seconds on the clock, and
Let's
we
go.
are getting ready to start right now. What's your favorite dance style to teach?
Oh, well, that's easy. That's hip hop.
One dance move that everyone should know.
Oh boy, one dance move everybody should know, a pirouette.
Okay, what's your go-to stretch before class?
My go-to stretch before class is let's just put on some music and get it in and get
All
y'all
right.
warmed up. Some
favorite
variety.
favorite song to dance to right now?
I gotta say it, not like us. I just like the groove. I don't like the lyrics, and I use
What
clip
famous dancer choreographer is known for his work on musicals like Chicago and Cabaret?
Fosse.
Awesome.
Okay.
Favorite dance performance you've seen?
Favorite one I've seen?
Mm-hmm.
Anything by the Jabberwockies.
Hardest style of dance to master?
Hardest? Ballet.
Yeah. A dance trend you wish would come back?
A dance trend or
Yes.
trick?
Trend.
Trend that I wish would come back. Let's say I wish Saturday Night Live fever kind of dancing, the disco.
Okay. Which ballet is traditionally performed during the Christmas season?
Rockettes? No. What'd you say? What's dance style?
Dance, which ballet is traditionally performed during the Christmas
Nutcracker.
season? Yep. And most underrated dance style.
Hip hop.
All right. Thank you for that, Dena.
I think I did okay. I was nervous.
No, you did good. I'm proud of you. Alrighty, so before we move into our next segment, I do want to take the time to shout out my sponsors. So on each and every episode, it is sponsored by Catico Streetwear. It is comfortable and affordable dancewear for dancers. And today's feature item is the awesome 5678 shorts. And now here's a word from my sponsor for more information.
And 5678 podcast is sponsored by Chelsea Elise Dance Apparel. Use promo code BRAVEN for 10% off all orders over $25. Follow Catico at Cata_Co on Instagram.
Make sure to use my discount code BRAVEN to get 10% off your orders of $25 or more online. All right, now this is the moment that you all been waiting for. It's time to get into our segment. This is where the curtains close and the spotlights turn off. Let's get to the point.
Let's get to the point.
Let's get to the point. Let's get to the point.
Let's get to the point.
All righty, so today's topic today for you is going to be what makes it hip hop. Now, on today's episode, we're going to discuss the 5 elements of hip hop and how they are important in dance education and training.
Yes.
So, first and foremost, for those who don't know, can you share what the 5 elements of hip hop are?
I can. They are MC, they are DJ, it is break dancing, it is graffiti, and it is knowledge. And
Yes.
I want to correlate that too because the emceeing part, that's like the oral, and then you got the DJ, which is the audio, okay, then the
Yeah.
break dance, which is physical, and then you have the graffiti, which is visual, and then the mental, which is knowledge. So that goes together when you're trying to explain it to somebody. I think they catch it better. I don't know. It's my thought.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you broke those down briefly like that. So can you let us know what specific role does each element play in hip hop?
Well, I know that, in 1972, Cool Herc rolled up, with some speakers in his neighborhood, neighborhood Bronx, and started having these dances, And so then you're talking about the MC part,
Mhm.
which is really master of ceremonies, which later on, at the first point when they're like, throw your hands in the air and rave like you just don't care. That's the kind of things, right? Hey, that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff you did, like, or they were doing early on. Because so many kids now, they don't know the history of hip hop. They don't know, they just want to dance, and I get it. But that was that. And
Mhm.
that's what started. That's what the emceeing part was. It's getting everybody on the dance floor, however it happened. So that was
Yeah.
that role. And want me to keep on?
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, you touched on that perfectly. So now I want to go through each one, each
Yes.
element. Now with NC, can you
Yes.
share examples of where NCing influenced choreography or performance?
Um,
And it can be personal or something that you witnessed yourself.
well, I think that again, like just to continue to elaborate on having the music and the opportunity to
Mhm.
hear, oh, okay, the MC guy, he's getting me motivated. I'm getting excited. I want to dance instead of I don't want to dance. So I think they play a big part of the whole thing because if it wasn't for them, how are we gonna keep it going? We're
Mm.
gonna go to somewhere where everything's silent. Nobody. Who's the MC? Nobody. So I just feel like to me it's a huge part in the whole scheme of things, and that's why I think it's the first one on there.
Awesome. Now, how important is understanding the DJ's craft when it comes to freestyle or improvisation?
I can tell you. Well, listen, when I lived in New York, I have always wanted to know how to do the turntables. That
Uh-huh.
is always something I wanted to learn. So in New York, I took lessons because I thought for sure I'm going to be able to scratch. I'm like, Lord, I put my fingers on that turntable. But, that is they're the one that audio and that sound that DJs do and how they now is so much, what do you mean, computerized. You don't see a lot of people just with the turntables, two turntables and a microphone. That was a song. I didn't know if you knew
Hmm.
that. He's like, I know that. But yeah, so that's my vision is that their DJing skills, you don't see it behind you when you're dancing, but that it's really important to get that
Mm.
music together. And it plays in for me with hip hop when people are mixing their music.
Yeah.
How accurate is that? Are they going to get it right to where it's not choppy chop? That's a big thing when I'm judging competitions. I'm like, I don't know who recorded your music, but it just went up, down, up, down, up, down in the levels of the
Mm.
audio, which is what the DJ does,
Exactly.
ultimately. So that I have a problem with that when I tell people that, let's get it clean, let's get it even. If you got to pay a little extra money, that's worth it. Then it's all just blasting out, and the other one.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's a thing for me. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Music itself has like such a powerful impact on a performance, like especially when it comes to like the way DJs mix music together.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
you're right.
and especially like when I do performances and I want music mixed a certain way, most of the time I give the DJ free creative range because I
Yes,
feel
yes,
like it's so much to try to tell them, I want this song from 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then I want you to mix it with this, mix it with
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
if you just allow them to
yeah.
utilize their craft, oh my goodness, the outcome is absolutely amazing. And when the audience is enjoying what they hear on
Yeah.
top
Oh,
of what they're seeing, it changes the whole dynamic of a
oh,
performance.
yeah. Word. That sure does. I
Yeah.
mean, I agree 100%.
And it also, for me personally as well, when I'm creating to music that sounds good, it feels good, it gets me excited, and it just pushes my brain to a new level because I hear things in music regularly, but when the DJ is mixing other things into the music, it's like, what more can I play with? Oh, the music is doing this. I have so much to work with, and I can utilize my body differently and utilize different elements. So, music is
Yes.
definitely important when it comes to creativity, when it comes to performances as well.
Yes. And the studio I was telling you I went to for 14 years in Nashville, she would always do some themes. And it like, let me just say, like one of them was she wanted to do like a circus theme. I said, why don't we do a freak show? That way, 'cause she got girls that can bend them backs and they can do some bone crushing. So let's do that.
Right.
And so I said, do whatever you tell the guy, because I've been working with this guy for many, many years, just from not in town, but just say it. Do this, this, this. This is what I want, but go for it. Like this is the only thing I really have to have. But if it don't work, do what you do. That's to me is much easier than hovering over somebody telling them what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now to the next element, breaking.
Yeah.
What lessons can other dance styles learn from the athleticism and creativity of breakdancing?
Well, when like I said, when I saw the movie in 1984 and met those guys, I knew I never, the only floor stuff I could do was, I could do a back spin, I could freeze, I could moonwalk, I could pop.
Oh, wow.
I was the up girl because
Period.
we didn't have a crew, and so for now, what was in the Olympics, breakdancing. Well, and we know what happened in the Olympics when the girls breakdancing happened, the girl ray gun, that everybody, on TikTok, there's a lot of comments about Ray Gun and me going to the, all that mess, that. So, you better be on point. You better be out there knowing what you're doing. Now, what she was doing, and it's there's no right or wrong. But in the Olympics, you got to be what they need you to be. You need to be out there doing it.
Right.
So, but boy, I tell you, breakdancing for me changed everything. It really taught me how to break things down and how to teach it because I can honestly say that I, at the time, was the only person I knew that was breaking down how do you moonwalk? How do you spin on your back? How do you do a freeze? Teaching kids all over the country, thousands, how to do that. Because I thought if they could correlate it, then it's going to help them tremendously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. For me, I'm not familiar with the style, like as far as like what to do with it, but it has been something like honestly, I play around with it a little bit, but I don't really know what exactly breaking is or how to move my body like that. So it is important to incorporate those styles into all styles because it can just turn you into a whole different beast, honestly.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because when I'm watching and I'm judging competitions, and let's say solo hip hop doesn't do that well. There's not that many. I could probably name just a few on my hand I've seen that killed it. And that's the thing. They come out, I see them, they start popping. I'm like, what else could I see you do? It's
Yeah,
exciting to me to see what's happening in the dance world and how people are doing it. Now that breaking was in the Olympics, it's going to be talked about.
absolutely.
I think.
Now, how can graffiti art inspire dancers to perfect their craft?
So I was just asked by a guy out in Boston. They did a mural, and the students in the schools, in the inner city type schools, they did this big mural. And he reached out to me and asked me if he could use my voice. And then he wanted me to send him a little video so he could put it all together. And he said the kids flipped out when they saw it was me. But I saw firsthand what was happening when these kids were creating their art. It was like mind blowing because I know I draw. Remember, I was an artist at 7, or I thought I was, and so heck yeah, man, I was drawing, looking, and out in New York, seeing it all. It is an extension of who that person is, just like choreography is an extension of who we are. It's the extension of that. So that's how I look at that. Is definitely being a big thing that they need to do more. The schools or wherever they need to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, why is understanding the history and cultural context of hip hop essential for dance education?
I think so. I think you need to not like, I think so. If you're, I don't mean, I don't think you have to lecture everybody about,
Hmm.
but it's like any form of dance because hip hop was the youngest form of dance that started happening. You know, a lot of people didn't think I knew what I was doing, and I didn't when I did the video.
Hmm.
Video was wrong on so many levels, but I didn't know better. I was doing what I thought was right at the time.
Right.
So I think it's important that you know what you're doing and you know a little bit about it.
Now, how do those five elements work together?
All right, let's just, I don't know if they all five can work together at
Hmm.
once. Um, because if you're doing like, say you're doing, you got a couple different dancers, you got a break dancer, you got somebody not so much. So they say, you know what, I'm pretty good at maybe just doing some floor work, this and that. And so pulling it all together, you got to have somebody with the music, you got
Hmm.
to have that hypeness, but break dancing wouldn't be for everybody. Graffiti, how you gonna do that when you're dancing? You can. I've
Hmm.
seen it done.
Okay.
The knowledge of the mental. So I think you'd have to really, really pick and choose how you wanted these elements to work
Hmm.
together. It's like our elements, fire and
Absolutely.
water. They're not going to work together. I mean, they will, but then one will take out the other one. So, yeah.
Do you have any final words or advice for dancers who may lack certain knowledge and are unsure where to go to gain the knowledge if they want to pursue dance?
I can say that was me. Like, I am the underdog. I'm
Hmm.
sitting here as somebody who has faced so many things in their life, just didn't work out. So I got to
Hmm.
be honest. When all this stuff started taking off with TikTok, I was blown away because I was waiting for the other shoe to fall. I was waiting for the bomb to drop. Why are people being nice to me? Oh gosh, why'd they buy that shirt? And so let me encourage anybody that's listening right now, you don't have to be the best at everything.
Hmm.
You just have to be the best at what you think you're the best at. And you don't let
Absolutely.
nobody else tell you what they were, because I could tell you, I was, um, I was just so lost when they were doing all the technique. I had to take what I learned and I had to make it my way, because growing up, I watched Soul Train in my bedroom all the time. So
Hmm.
Soul Train was my knowledge, because where am I going to get that from at my age? 11, 12, 13, buying like, uh, listening to Parliament, George Clinton, all of that at my young age. So I feel like I'm just somebody that loves something.
Hmm.
Please do not feel and don't listen to nobody else, because they'll be the ones. I listened to everybody else out there for many years, and they dictated how I was going to face this situation. So
Yeah.
that, and the only other thing I want to tell people too, other than just love what you love and go for it. Don't hold back, because like what you said about the 100% of things you're not going to get. That thing you told me.
Hmm.
But I got something. I got some things in the works, and it's going to be good stuff. I can't say what it is right now,
Oh,
but I'm
absolutely.
excited about it.
Well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yes,
I do want to thank you for taking the time to come talk to me today. I'm sure that someone will gain some knowledge from
I hope
our
so.
conversation. It's been so amazing.
Okay. Thank you so much again for what you're doing. It's necessary.
Yeah,
It's important.
no problem. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media platforms?
Absolutely. On TikTok, I'm the real Dena Rizzo. Instagram, I'm Dena Rizzo. I I can't say whatever else because it's not there yet. But that's where you can find me. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled for all some other things I'm going to be doing.
All righty. Well, that concludes this episode of In5678. Make sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Five Library and stay updated on all of our social media at In5678 Podcast. Here's your daily reminder to always dance like nobody's watching and love like it's never gonna hurt. Shout out to Kata Koshigura for dancers, Rachel Robot LLC, and Felicity Digital Lab. Until next time, y'all.